Hello, good morning, Hi Empowered Tribe. So glad that you're back here again for our daily reflections. The hustle and bustle of the holidays is starting to begin, and it could be a very stressful, triggering time of the year, although it's also one of the joyous time of the year too, because I can feel that spirit of Christmas and the spirit of togetherness. Without further ado, let's go to the Book of Awakening. If you are looking for this book, I got this from Barnes and Nobles. I also have my Amazon store if you are interested in purchasing one. That way you don't have to look all over the place. So today's passage is titled Only While Loving. If you had a sad childhood, so what? You can dance with only one leg and see the snowflakes falling with only one eye. I flew all the way to South Africa carrying all my troubles with me like oversized bags that no one would check. And there in the sun that lit up Cape Town, I saw a boy on Green Street dancing on crutches. I put my bags of trouble down to watch. When he was dancing, the crutches were light, as drumsticks bouncing off the street. When he stopped, they became crutches again. Only while dancing or while watching the dancer did this make sense. Now that I'm back, I approach things differently. For only while telling the truth does the truth lighten us. When we stop, it turns massive. I left some of my bags on that corner of Green Street, somewhere below the equator. Now I carry less and try to dance on my crutches. For only while loving do the pain of feeling lighten. This is a shorter passage today. It talks a little bit about childhood. Um, I definitely can, relate to a sad childhood, and after all, we are product of our parents. However, our parents are positive, negative, good, bad. Um, we all inherit traits of them, and I personally uh, have been in a very challenging childhood where my parents are not always involved. My mom is a narcissist, and it's always her way or the highway. It's a very, very Asian brought up, and a lot of my childhood is spent wondering why I'm not good enough for my parents, for my mom especially, because my dad left when I was 12. So a lot of my life is with my mom, and I was never allowed to speak my mind. I was never allowed to express who I truly am authentically in front of her without being judged. Um, and what we don't realize is who we are as children does affect us as adults. And a lot of times our surroundings triggers us emotionally, and it brings us back to a place where we were triggered as children. um, Essentially it's like we are adults with a childlike emotions. It took me a long time to really understand the fact that um, the past does affect you, and it does trigger you in instances that you don't even expect. But I think it takes a level of awareness, and a lot of this family secrets and family trauma is very unspoken of because of shame, because of uncomfortableness, because we don't want to bring up the past. And I think speaking of it is a powerful thing. I Through my journey of self-awareness, and as I awaken, I start really dissecting some of those feelings, and that is doing the shadow work. If you haven't heard of the shadow work, I will do a video of what a shadow work means. And really having to be sure of who I am, and stop lying to myself that I was the problem, because that was always been my thought process. Was I was a bad child. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't doing the right thing, and so I deserve it. And that's how I am around people, and so people take advantage of me. People treat me differently. I allow to be mistreated by others because I didn't know better. But as I awaken and I start understanding what's happening and I start understanding my worth, it really brought a new perspective of who I am. And I think that's the tough part about growing in a narcissistic family. I've been told lies, and a lot of us have been told lies about who we are, and we suppress who we truly, authentically are. And over time, we've forgotten really who we are at the core. And that's where that spiritual awakening is there to kind of jumpstart your process to the awaken you, because you're awakened to the fact that what you were told were lies. And our past experiences brings up it builds our ego, right? And a lot of times the ego is a defense mechanism, because as a child we have to build some sort of defense because we can't escape from our family because we need them. And so our defense mechanism to survive in the environment, but that defense mechanism becomes a hindrance as we become adults, because then we look at the world in a completely a completely wrong lens. We look at things not the way it is, but the way we tell ourselves, the story that we tell ourselves about the situation, which we talked about that a lot in my other videos. And really, when I went through my spiritual awakening, it was very, very hard, because a lot of the healing that I had to do had got to do with tracing back to my childhood, and realizing how it impacted me as an adult, and it impacted me in what I was willing to accept for myself, even though it wasn't right. And I think that all of us has childhood traumas. Some are worse than others, and we don't necessarily realize how it affects us as adults. But I think it does take some level of awareness to really read into and be curious about why you react to certain situations or people or things the way you do. Why some people can be oblivious to whatever is happening, be in the same situation, whereas for you it affects you so much because maybe somewhere in the past you had gone through a similar situation, but obviously in a different circumstance, which really triggered that inner wound to come out. I think it's really important to go back to heal that inner child. None of the thing that's happened to you is any of your fault. And we don't want to place blame on our parents either, because when they are hurt themselves, they become hurt parents. And so as a parent now myself, and being more awakened, I'm very aware of the things that I could do to potentially cause them to be the inner wounded child when they grow up. So as parents, it's really good for you to dig into those past traumas, to really work through them, and replace them with healthier behaviors, and to know your worth, because that's what you want to teach your children, to be able to be firm in who they are, to stand up for what they believe in, to have the confidence and the awareness of themselves authentically as a person. And it takes work. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of looking at yourself in the mirror, and I think a lot of the work is grieving the past. I think that in our society we are always told to buck up and move on, and be brave, be courageous, not look at the past, just keep moving forward. But this is quite the opposite of what we should do. This is not telling us to dwell on the past and not leave it, and just bring. There's a difference between living in the past and facing the past. When you dwell on the past, it seems like you can't move forward, what we want to do is look at the past and resolve those unresolved feelings. Whether it be having a conversation with your parents and say, hey, I did some self-reflection and I wanted to talk about these few things that really bothered me. For me, I've tried that with my mom. Was very honest with her about how I feel. And what I come to realize is some people are not meant to be in our life. And for my mom is very toxic for me, and she triggers a lot of emotional wound. Even though I forgive her and I want to build that relationship, she needs to work on herself, and that's on her. I need to work on me, and that's on me. And the door is always open for me, but I'm not willing to put myself in a toxic situation to put myself through the environment that she is around me. She's very toxic, she's very critical, and we tend to default to our self-protecting mechanism, which is either to defend, to shut down, and I don't want to go back to the old patterns. And so I drew a line, and if she's positive and she wants to have a relationship, the door is open. But I'm not willing to accept any drama from her, or be put myself or my family in a drama situation because of her. So I know this holiday season is really great for a lot of us, but it is also for some of us a triggering one, because this is where family get together, where past wounds are going to be all turned up, and it might be a positive experience, it might not be. But I would challenge you to really think about what serves you. If the environment doesn't serve you, I'm not saying don't go. I'm just saying, what can you do to with a different perspective for you? If it gets too toxic, maybe you just need to end the night early and leave. And sometimes those are the boundaries that you have to set for yourself to protect yourself and your family. And those are all I wouldn't say self-care. A lot of us think self-care is like, I go to a spa, I get my nails painted, I get some massage, I do my hair. That's self-care. No, self-care is understanding what your boundaries is, respecting what your tolerance is, versus just numbing yourself and getting through it. There is a big difference. Self-care is when enough is enough, you stand up for yourself and you draw the line, you set your boundaries, and if that means you have to physically leave, that's what you do. Or you have to remove yourself entirely, that's what you do. And until you feel like you're in a stronger place and you can go back to that same issue again and hash it out, then do that. But self-care is respecting yourself in what you are able to handle in that moment. And I think that it is as children who have been in trauma, it is very hard for you to recognize and even know what your boundaries are, because your boundaries have been stepped on ever since you were a kid. But I would really challenge you this holiday to, before you go to any holiday events, take some time to evaluate your circumstance, whatever it is, with your family or friend or whatever it is. Understand, like, when I'm around this person or this environment, what kind of emotions came out of me, and how do I feel about that? How did I handle it in the past, and how would I like to handle it now? And I think that when you have that backup plan of how you would handle the situation and where you would draw the line ahead of time, you would be in a much better place. Because when emotions come up, it is very hard to shove it all back down and be calm and collected and think with a clear head. It's very difficult. And so it is very important for you to kind of think about that ahead of time, to make this holiday about you. because I feel like holidays is always about somebody else, buying for somebody else, shopping for somebody else, going to family functions because it's Christmas or it's Thanksgiving, and you're not really thinking about you. You're thinking about this is the time to do these things, and so we do it. It's a tradition, it's a routine, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be an enjoyable experience, not just for them, but for yourself too, because it is also your holiday. So I hope this serves you, ladies, to take some time to reflect upon your relationships with others, what triggers you, and how to think about self-care during this period of time, especially if, this is a very emotion charged time for you, to take some time to take care of you, do what serves you, recognize what your boundaries are. And if you don't feel comfortable, you have not set boundaries, this is a time for you to start recognizing what your boundaries are. One way to recognize what your boundaries are is when you don't feel right, when something feels not good inside. That's where your boundary is. That's where your boundary is being stepped on, and that's where you need to draw the line. And so that's what helped me recognize my boundaries growing up with no boundaries. And it's a muscle that you continuously use in different environments, with different people, but it is definitely something that you can grow into. I hope this serves you in this holiday season. You have a great, amazing day, and know that you have the power to create the life that you want. Have a great day, ladies. Bye.